diner smelled the stale coffee and desperation, a scent Elias was beginning to associate with Havenwood. Rain lashed against the windows, blurring the already dismal view of the perpetually twilight landscape. Sheriff Brody nursed the cup of something dark and potent, his gaze distant, weary. "Anything new?" Elias asked, his voice tight. The headaches had returned, a dull throbbing behind his eyes, synchronized with the storm's intensification. Brody shook his head, the movement slow, deliberate. "Just more rain. More folks scared. Same stories about the shadows and the whispers, and the power fluctuations. Sporadic. Still blaming it on the lightning." Brody didn't meet Elias's gaze. He knew Elias suspected something far more unsettling. Elias glanced at the waitress, a woman who seemed to observe everything without ever quite participating. Her name was Martha, and she possessed a quiet intensity that both intrigued and unnerved him. She refilled his coffee, her movements economical, almost mechanical. "The storm's unusual," Elias pressed, pushing a file of readings across the table. "The atmospheric pressure is fluctuating wildly. It's not consistent with typical storm patterns." Brody scanned the data, his expression unreadable. "You keep saying that, Doctor. I appreciate your expertise, but people need reassurance. Telling them the storm is unusual doesn't reassure them." "Reassurance isn't the point," Elias retorted, frustration edging his voice. "We need to understand what's causing this." His grandfather's silver locket, cool against his skin beneath his shirt, felt like a weight, a constant reminder of the family history tangled with Havenwood's fate. Martha materialized at their table again, a plate of pie in her hands. "Sheriff's been working himself ragged. You should eat something, Doctor. Thinking too hard can do a body harm." Her voice was soft, almost a murmur, but her eyes held a knowing glint. Elias accepted the pie, the aroma of apples and cinnamon doing little to ease the knot of anxiety in his stomach. "I keep thinking about the psalm," he said, more to himself than to either of them. "The Lament of Silas. It's everywhere." Brody sighed. "Folks always sing that song around here. It's a tradition." "It's more than that," Elias insisted. He remembered his grandfather's warnings, whispers of a debt, a pact made long ago. "It's a summons." Suddenly, the diner lights flickered violently, plunging the room into near darkness. A low hum filled the air, resonating deep within Elias's bones. Outside, the rain intensified, accompanied by a sound like a mournful wail. Martha didn't flinch. "He's calling," she said quietly, a voice devoid of emotion. Elias felt a jolt of cold, a sense of dread so profound it threatened to paralyze him. He looked out the window, into the heart of the storm. For a fleeting moment, he thought he saw something there, a shape shifting within the swirling rain, something vast and ancient and utterly alien. "What's happening?" Brody asked, his voice tight with apprehension. Elias didn't answer. He remembered his grandfather's last words, a cryptic warning about a debt that must be repaid. He thought of the silver locket, its intricate carvings hinting at a dark and forgotten history. He felt a call, a compulsion to go out into the storm, to confront whatever was calling. "I have to go," Elias said, pushing back from the table. "Go where?" Brody demanded. "To Weeping Hollow," Elias replied, his voice barely a whisper. He felt an overwhelming sense of inevitability, a feeling that he was being drawn into something far beyond his understanding. He stepped out into the storm, the rain lashing against his face, the wind howling in his ears. The diner disappeared behind him, swallowed by the swirling darkness. He felt a presence beside him, a silent observer, and he turned to see Martha standing in the doorway, her face obscured by shadows. "Be careful, Doctor," she said, her voice soft but resonant. "He doesn't like it when you question his methods." Elias didn't reply. He turned and plunged into the heart of the storm, drawn towards Weeping Hollow, towards the ancient evil that lay dormant within its depths. The wind carried the melody of the Lament of Silas, a mournful refrain that echoed through the desolate landscape, a siren song that lured him towards his doom. As he reached the edge of the hollow, a palpable shift in the atmosphere announced his arrival. The air grew heavy, thick with an oppressive silence, the wind seeming to cease altogether. The ground beneath him felt strangely soft, almost yielding, as if the earth itself were alive and aware of his presence. In the center of the hollow, a swirling vortex of rain and mist coalesced, revealing a form that defied description. It was vast, ancient, and utterly alien, a being of cosmic horror that existed beyond human comprehension. Tendrils of dark energy lashed out, illuminating fragments of a scene far older than Havenwood itself. Elias felt the past coalesce around him, images flashing through his mind, men in archaic garb, a pact sealed with blood, and the mournful melody of a song, forever etched into the soul of the land. A voice echoed in his head, a guttural resonance that seemed to emanate from the varied earth itself. The debt must be repaid. The lament must be continued. Asterisk. Elias felt a searing pain in his mind, a flood of memories that were not his own. He saw his grandfather, young and vibrant, making a bargain with the being before him, promising a lineage of resonance, a constant reminder of the pact. He understood then the true meaning of the locket, a conduit, a key, a link to something ancient and terrible. Suddenly, a flash of insight pierced through the fog of despair. He realized he wasn't just a descendant of Silas Hammok. He asterisk was asterisk the resonance. He was the conduit through which the entity could exert its influence, the instrument of its return. He felt a surge of defiance, a spark of resistance against the overwhelming darkness. He wouldn't be a puppet, a pawn in this ancient game. He would find a way to break the pact, to sever the link between Havenwood and this cosmic horror. He reached out, clutching the silver locket, channeling his will, his defiance, into the intricate carvings. He spoke the words of the lament, not as a son of servitude, but as a challenge, a declaration of war. The entity recoiled, its form flickering, its power momentarily disrupted. Elias felt a surge of energy coursing through him, empowering him, transforming him. He was no longer just a man, he was something more, something different. The storm began to subside, the rain lessening, the wind dying down. The entity's form began to dissolve, retreating into the shadows from whence it came. The lament faded, replaced by an unsettling silence. Elias stood alone in the hollow, the silver locket warm against his skin. He had faced the ancient evil, and he had survived. But he knew that the battle was far from over. The entity would return, and when it did, he would be ready. He turned and began to walk away from the hollow, towards the distant lights of Havenwood. He knew that he couldn't tell anyone what he had seen, what he had done. They wouldn't understand. They would only fear him. As he reached the edge of the town, he glanced back at the hollow. A single figure stood silhouetted against the fading light. It was Martha, the waitress from the diner. She smiled, a knowing, enigmatic smile. "You're not free yet, Doctor," she said, her voice soft but resonant. The lament, it's not just a song. It's a summons.